So Exhibition of Learning Night is a night where we celebrate project-based learning and what the kids have learnt throughout the semester. So what's happening is from Year 7 to Year 10, showcasing all the products that they've produced and all the learning that they've done over the last 20 weeks. It's just a night for the parents and anyone from the community to come in and see what they've done. So we've got Building 20 is Year 9s, Building 13 is Year 8s, Building 19 is Year 7s, and we've also got the ARC kids, and then this is Year 10s. So the Year 7s designed and created board games. So this is a combination of design and technology and science. So what happened with these is the students designed these and they teach the kids about laser printing starting in Year 7, and then they did critiquing and presented it to Year 5, so the Year 5s played it and found out what all the problems were with it, and so they would have refined and critiqued it and stuff like that.
So at the moment we've got two projects in our room. We've got the Scratch It, Sell It, Survive It project, which was a joint project with D&T, Geography and English. In Geography they learnt about the bushfires, and what they did in D&T, which was digital technologies, they created a scratch game on it. What they did was they had to think about how they could teach a primary years audience about the negative impacts of the bushfires, and then what they did was they created their games, and then they had to create advertising in English about it. The games are really awesome. It actually has a purpose, because it teaches younger kids about how to survive a bushfire, essentially. So the other project we've got is the MOC Rules project, which was a joint one between English, home ec and maths, and what they did in home ec was they learnt about the negative impact of fast food, and then what they did in English was they created a persuasive speech trying to persuade people about the negative impact of fast food on their bodies, and then what they did in home ec was then they created alternatives to fast food, which they've been trying tonight, which is a really great success because all the kids enjoyed it. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, and then in maths what they've been doing was they were looking at the store-bought version as opposed to what they've made, and which one had more sugar. And it's really great to hear as well, because they're all looking at it and going, oh, that's really good, I might make that at home, so that's awesome.
So Year 8 are looking at the life cycle of different insects. So what they've done, again, it's a combination of science and design and technology. The whole idea is it's meant to be interactive, and then kids can come in and come around and do that. So that's that one. So this one here, Draw Like an Ancient Grecian, is a adaptation of one that we did in semester 1, which was Draw Like an Egyptian. So what the students have done is they've come up with designs that go on the back of iPads. Originally the idea was that play on emojis and how we use emojis now. So that's the whole reason why iPad covers, because it's that whole idea of a tablet, but where they were looking at how you would chisel away and communicate back in Egyptian times, and because the kids have to learn about ancient Greece and ancient Egypt in Year 7 for their history. So that was the starting point of this project, and then the kids had to look at how to represent that, and it was that play on what did Egyptian and Grecian people use as tools, and then what do we use now as tools today.
We have Year 9 Civics and Citizenship, so they had to choose a law and change it, and we've got petitions up for people and parents to come in and sign, which a couple already have. So students will stand on the soapbox and voice their opinion on what law they would like to come into effect, and then people have a ballot box, and then it's set up exactly like a normal voting system, so it's all independent, it's all secret, and it's opinion based, which is what the state and federal government have in place.
In English they're looking at poetry, and so what they were going to do is on top of their lid they were going to put a poem that they wrote, and that play on the whole idea of a boombox. So they're making boxes in design and tech anyway, and then they were just going to put this on the top as a decoration. But the other thing was that they had to do the maths part of this, which was looking at volume and surface area. So they were looking at the size of their box, and so that's what that information is here.
My class has done a unit on William Shakespeare and Midsummer Night's Dream. So we started looking at who Shakespeare was and how he fits in and why it's important to look at Shakespeare. We did Midsummer Night's Dream. After they'd written a recount, they then narrowed the play down into 66 words, the entire play, into 66 words. Then they had to narrow it down again into a tweet of 140 characters. And then, so that was that process, and then they created Shapebook. So they really had to get to what the play was really about, what was really important, what the themes were of that play. So they've sort of taken it from the Shakespearean language right down into the modern equivalent of using emojis and things like that, which is really good. So the same class did, as part of reproduction, growth and reproduction, did silkworms. And so they've looked at how you get silk from silkworms, so that's what all of this stuff is. So this project was called When Is Vomit Not Vomit? And so in art, which is their passion subject, they have painted silk scarves, and we've created the advert for it in my class as well.
So in history they've got to learn about popular culture. So from a home ec perspective, they were looking at what cuisines were popular of each decade. So you can see that the kids have designed a food truck, and within that food truck they've got food that they think best represents that decade. And with the science part of it, they've looked at how the nutritional content in those foods is either good or bad for us, so they analyse the food that they're actually serving to us. What the music kids have done, again, it's about pop culture, and you'll probably realise they're actually going to play different songs from different decades, and it's called the 4-chord mashup. So they're doing the songs that they think are most significant to the decades, and sort of like a bit of a timeline through music, which is pretty cool. Yeah. The Making History Pop Book is a visual art history and English project, again inspired by the work of Robert Rauschenberg. So the kids learned about pop art in art, but it was all about how those events and those things throughout history and a popular culture influence how we live today. In regards to down in MOCSA, and they're doing a live feed, and if you actually go into that room, it's actually a NASA set up room, so it looks like NASA, and they're controlling a live feed while kids go out and they actually let off rockets. That's a science, media, maths project with English in it as well. But it's all about NASA, and it's all about the science, because they had to learn about sort of how the rockets work and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, in regards to the art project in there, it's What Planet Are You From? So What Planet Are You From is a combination of science, English and art. So the kids learn about galaxies, and what we did is that each kid was assigned a planet, and they had to design an alien that would live on that planet. So they used their scientific knowledge to inform what they did with their heads, and then in English they had to write a narrative about a day in the life of their alien, so justifying what they've learnt in their heads. So that's what we've been doing over here in Year 10. This is true PBL for me, where individual students have done individual products. Troy and Shirley have catered for the particular learning styles of these students.
Okay, so we took a key question, which was what are the key events of Ned Kelly's life? And then each student has a part of Ned Kelly's life in which they have to produce their product. So, yep, we had the overview, and then they all had their own essential question. They had to describe it. Then they had their own learning goals. And their learning goals they had to meet in order to sort of pass the modified SACE for year 10s, 11s and 12s, and history component for the middle years. So now we've got the first part of Ned's life when he saved a young boy from drowning, so which is where Ned ended up getting the green scarf. So each component that they make has got to relate directly to the story. We have a multimedia component as well, because we feel that's extremely important. And then it's the timeline comes in as well.
Okay, so the next part of the timeline is the incident with Constable Hall, where Ned goes into town, has a disagreement as he's trying to return a horse, and the constable, hits him on the head, and he gets arrested and taken off to jail. We sort of play acted the story.
And then Chloe, for example, said, well, I want to make that.
I want to make that.
Yeah.
Somebody else said, well,
Yeah.
I want to do this. And somebody else said, well, I want to do that. And originally we were going to have a whole sewn project. And then we thought, well, that doesn't actually meet the interests or the needs of all our kids. So we then said, well, what do you want to do? How do you want to present this? And that's when we got
Bang.
the array.
Yeah.